What's going on YouTube? So while the world anxiously awaits the all-new 9th generation Toyota Camry, Toyota is giving the 8th generation one last run for 2024.
So we're in that latest 2024 model, and it goes head-to-head against the likes of the Honda Accord and Nissan Altima.
So, should you hold out for that upcoming all-new model, or is this still a great choice? Let's go ahead and find out. So let's kick things off under the hood. So for 2024, you're going to continue to have 3 different powertrains for the Camry lineup. You have a traditional 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine. This is making 203 horsepower. You have a hybrid system, and you also have a 3.5-liter V6 engine. That's right, you still have the option of a V6. So that's probably a point for buy now if you're keeping track and you really want the option of a V6.
That is for sure. Now you do also have an 8-speed automatic transmission, and you have the option between front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, which is unique for the segment. As far as fuel economy is concerned, you're still coming in at 32 miles a gallon combined.
But of course, we're gonna go out for a road test a little later in the video. We're gonna get things like our signature sound level reading here in this SE trim level, but first, let's close up the hood and take a look at the exterior. Now at this point, you've probably seen more than a few of this current generation Camry around, but I have to say that it has really aged quite gracefully. It has a very bold and aggressive look. Of course, we don't know what the next generation is going to look like yet, but I have to say, I hope that it does continue in the same vein as this generation. Now, let's talk a little bit about what you have up here in the front. You continue to have those 2 different themes. So you have the sport design models, which are going to have this more aggressive look, like here on the SE trim level. The LE and the XLE are going to have a more conservative design. As we go to the headlights, you also have 2 different headlight arrangements. Full LED, though, on all models. But these extra elements like the turn signal indicator and daytime running light will be LED only on the XSE and the XLE trim levels. Now moving around to the rear, you continue to have a nice aggressive design.
Yeah, I really like the way this looks. It has definitely aged very well. But here at Car Confections, we want to see if all 3 elements of the taillight are LEDs. So Drew's going to hop inside and we're going to see that. So we do have an LED brake light portion, incandescent reverse light, and incandescent turn signal indicator. Now that's going to be for the lower trim levels. If you choose an X trim level, you're going to get actually full LED taillights. So do keep that in mind. We have nice Camry branding. And then down here at the very bottom, we do have dual exposed exhaust outlets here on the right side for the SE trim level. If you choose the XSE, you actually get quad exhaust outlets, which I do think will probably disappear for the all-new model.
Now moving on to our wheel options, you start out with 17-inch alloys. The SE is going to give you 18-inch alloys. XSE will give you 19-inch alloys. I really like the look of these though. Nice contrast design. It looks really good as well with this paint. This is called Reservoir Blue. This was added last year, but it is the newest color addition to the Camry lineup. Now as we come over here to our mirrors, we do have the optional blind spot monitoring system. We also have optional heating here on the SE since we have the heating package.
Now as far as your overall length, we're still sitting at about 192 inches, and I do want to just go ahead and talk about your safety systems for this Camry. Now this is an area I don't really expect to change much for the all-new version because you're already getting all 4 of your main active safety features as standard equipment on all trim levels of this model. But guys, that wraps up the exterior design. Let's check out the inside and see if there are any changes in there. But before, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Let's go ahead and check out the interior. Now, since the SE is one of the most affordable trim levels, it does not actually come standard with Smart Entry. You can option on if you want it. We don't have that option, so we have the switchblade key, and then you have keyless entry. So you just press the button there to unlock the door. And taking a look inside of the cabin, of course, Toyota's not going to make any big changes here to the Camry on this model year. Let's talk about some color and material choices as well. You are going to have standard cloth seating on the LE trim level. Here with the SE, one of the big benefits is that you get the full Softex leatherette seat. As you can see, that's going to give you like some nice stitching details running through the center. The seats themselves are also very comfortable, and full leather comes on the X trim levels. Down below, we have an 8-way power adjusting seat with 2-way lumbar support. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now we'll look around at some of the other materials inside of the cabin. Here on the SE, we've got a padded armrest. It is going to be soft touch plastic along the top as well. As we move to the upper dashboard, all of this is a nice soft touch plastic. Actually, it's very squishy. We have a faux aluminum trim that kind of curves down through here, a leatherette running through the center section, and then down here on the lower panel, this will be hard touch, but everything does still feel, very high quality and well put together. That's something we don't expect to change from this generation to the next generation. Now let's see if I remember how to do this. I haven't done this in a while. I'll get the traditional key out and actually stick it in the key slot here. Look at that. It's like riding a bike. You never forget. Now I moved into a first-person perspective, and we'll take a closer look at some of the details. Of course, up here with our gauge cluster, this is kind of your typical Toyota affair. Mostly analog. We've got a 4.2-inch multifunction in the middle. The upper trims have a 7-inch multifunction instead. I would probably expect the next generation, though, to have at least the option of a full digital cluster. High-end examples will get a head-up display. As we pull back to the steering wheel, nice leatherette-wrapped steering wheel. It's manual tilt and telescoping. Surprisingly, even here on this SE, we have a heated steering wheel. That's because Toyota actually sections that off in the heating package so that you can add that along with heated seats. But let's get into interior storage, because this continues to be incredibly impressive with this Camry. Check out this center console, guys. It is absolutely enormous. This here is 14 of our donuts. So this is our signature donut test. We like to see how many donuts we can fit in the console, because the exterior of the vehicle has nothing to do with how big the console ends up being. This is larger than a lot of SUVs out there. Now up in front of that, we've got our 3-stage heated seats. That again is part of the heating package that I just mentioned. You have a nice area right here. This is a wireless phone charging pad on many of the models, and then you've got your hidden storage down there below. Now as we pull it back to the shifter, this is a nice traditional style one. The next generation may switch to an electronic one. Of course, we don't know yet. Up top here, you've got your paddle shifters on the steering wheel. And when we go into reverse, you're going to find the traditional backup camera. As you can see, we do have active trajectory on board. Camrys are also available with a 360-degree camera right now, which is something that the Accord still doesn't offer even in its new generation. And then back behind that, you will find an electronic parking brake on your upper trim levels. This one does have the foot activated one, and you've also got your drive modes right there. Moving above, we've got our dual zone climate system. Nice and easy to control everything through there. You also have physical controls for your audio system as well. So with this model, you've got a couple different choices. Most of the models are going to come with a 6-speaker sound system. That's what we have versus the 9-speaker JBL on the high-end examples. But let's hear what that one is like. For most people, this is going to be more than adequate. But of course, if you really love music, then you still want to look into upgrading to that high-end JBL sound system. All right, so let's talk about technology here, because of course, throughout this video, we're kind of talking about what we expect the next generation to be like and differences between them. Obviously, we're going to see a new infotainment system. This is actually one of the very last Toyotas that still hasn't been upgraded to the newest Toyota infotainment system. This is the Intune 3.0 system. So the technology on board is going to be a little bit out of date compared to the latest Toyota models. Now, for some of you guys, that won't matter at all. But if you want the latest technology, I would certainly recommend holding out for that next generation model. Now, as far as the display sizes, this is the standard 7-inch display. You also have the availability to get a larger 9-inch display. And then both models will have built-in Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but they run via a USB connection, not wirelessly. Now, as we move above here, we've got a frameless mirror. This is actually a manual mirror, but it does have the nice frameless design. And we have the HomeLink universal remotes built into the bottom of it optionally here on the SE. Another option our SE has is this power sunroof. As you can see, this is the standard size unit. The highest end models also have the availability of a panoramic sunroof.
All right, and sitting back in the rear seats of the Camry, this is, of course, a family vehicle after all. And as far as that's concerned, we do have a lot of space for your family. 38 inches of both leg and headroom. That's, of course, unchanged for 2024, but for someone who's 5'9" like I am, this seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8". You have plenty of space. As a matter of fact, we have about 7.5 inches of knee space. My feet can also easily slide up underneath of the seat. As far as how that compares to some of the competition, that is going to be less than the all-new Honda Accord, though, so do keep that in mind. Now here in the center, we do not have very many features for this model. We're missing the rear vents. You can get that on X trim level, so XSE and XLE will have that. And then I do also imagine maybe for the all-new model, we'll get some USB ports, but not going to be available on this one. Dropping down the center armrest, we do have 2 cup holders inside. Heated rear seats are not available on this Camry. And then as far as the door trim is concerned, it's going to be pretty hard, just like those calculus exams that used to have in college. And then down at the very bottom, we do have a padded armrest portion, and then we do also have some bottle storage. Now walking up to the trunk on the Camry, since we do not have smart entry, there's not going to be a button integrated under the lid, so you have to use the key fob, or there's a button inside the cabin. And once you do push that button, it actually opens all the way up, so it's a really nice dampening on this Camry. And we're sitting at 15.1 cubic feet of cargo capacity. That is a very, very impressive cargo capacity figure, so I don't imagine that's going to improve much for this all-new version that could be coming up soon. As far as some measurements, we do like to give you all those things here at Car Confections, and we're sitting at about 46 inches of length in the trunk area of the Camry. And I do want to point out the seats do fold 60-40 split. As far as how wide the opening is, here at the very bottom, we're sitting at about 33 inches wide. Now, it is going to be a little bit less than the all-new Honda Accord, so do keep that in mind. And if we lift up the floor, it's very sharp, so I'm trying not to cut my finger. Ow. Oh, here we go. Underneath of the floor, we do have a spare tire. Well, guys, we're behind the wheel of the 2024 Toyota Camry, and in this test drive, we're going to talk about a lot of different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our signature sound level reading. But before, let's go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
All right.
Not bad.
Quick acceleration up to about 60 miles an hour with this 2024 Toyota Camry. Now, like you heard us talk about the spec dump, you have 3 different powertrains you can choose from. And I think kind of a critical element of this is the fact that all 3 of these are, naturally aspirated powertrains. This is the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, 203 horsepower or 206 horsepower if you choose the XSE trim level. That is plenty of power in this segment, and a lot of the rivals are using turbocharged engines, such as the Honda Accord using a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine. There is some chance that Toyota will use a smaller displacement turbo in the next generation. We don't really know at this point, but I would say, generally there's a trend towards downsizing displacement in engines, so you could expect that could happen, as well as we talked about in the spec dump, that V6.
Yeah.
There's like a 0.2% chance that makes it to the next generation.
We can hope, but
highly, highly unlikely that the 3.5 liter V6 is going to make it to the next gen. So if you want that, I'd suggest getting it now.
And if you're curious how much power that V6 produces, it is 301 horsepower, 267 pound-feet of torque. So definitely very solid numbers. You get that standard in the TRD, or it's an option on XLE and XSE. And let's go ahead and get our sound level reading going 55 miles per hour. Fan speed 1. We've settled in at 55.7 decibels as our official Car Confections sound level reading. And what I'm going to do to go check the competition is actually go to carconfections.com, because believe me, we've tested out a lot of mid-size sedans over the years, and we've actually posted all of those sound level readings on our website in a useful chart, so you can actually go and see how this ranks among its other rivals. And as far as how that compares to the competition, that is going to be a very good sound level reading. It actually slots in between the Kia K5 and the Honda Accord Sport, the all-new one. It's not going to be as quiet as the previous Camrys we tested out. The Camry Hybrid, which we tested out just a few months ago, was actually the quietest in the entire segment.
Yeah, that makes sense considering that the engine probably wasn't running during the test, right? And speaking of hybrid, I think that's another thing we should discuss a little bit. We do have a dedicated hybrid review for all the, nitty-gritty details about the hybrid, but, be aware that Toyota has really made a, huge push even more into hybridization than they had been previously. Yep. So there is a chance that we could see in the next generation a situation like the Honda Accord where some of the trim levels are hybrid exclusive. Like the Corolla Cross we just tested out. If you want any of the sport trim levels, you're going to get a hybrid powertrain. Now, another traditional element of this traditional powertrain is the 8-speed automatic transmission. This is a nice and smooth transmission. I really don't have any complaints about it. It's very willing to downshift as you want additional acceleration. I think it helps this to feel like a pretty spunky midsize sedan.
Yeah, and 203 horsepower really isn't bad for the base motor, that is for sure. Now, it's worth noting, if you choose the hybrid, you're going to get the CVT, so do keep that in mind. That's going to make for a little bit less of a traditional feel if you opt for that model. As far as how the power is put to the ground, one of the great things about the Camry is that you have the option between front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. Do keep in mind, though, you cannot get all-wheel drive with the V6, so you do have to have this base 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine option if you want all-wheel drive. And as far as your fuel economy is concerned for 2024, it doesn't change. So we're still sitting at 32 miles a gallon combined with probably the most popular configuration, which is what we're in today, the 2.5-liter four-cylinder with front-wheel drive. Do keep in mind, all-wheel drive kind of drops that down a pretty significant measure if you want that. And as far as the V6's fuel economy, that's sitting at 26 miles a gallon combined. If ultimate fuel economy is your goal, get the hybrid, though, because that gets really exceptionally good fuel economy.
I think it's time to get into our slam dunk and airball for the day. I'm going to start us off with the slam dunk. That is going to be the exterior design. We think that this vehicle has aged very gracefully. This came out actually in 2018 model year, so that's quite a while ago, guys.
Yep.
But it still looks pretty modern. I mean, this is a very stylish design. And I think it's aging quite gracefully.
Yeah, I even love the new paint colors that they're adding in the later model years as well. And then as far as our airball is concerned, it's just got to be the technology in this Camry. There are some things that tend to not age gracefully, and technology is one of those. So certainly you're not going to have the newest, the latest, and greatest, abilities with this model. But if that doesn't matter to you, this is still a fantastic option. I do also want to talk about your ride quality in this Camry, because that's, of course, a very important part of any family sedan. And as we're going over a lot of bumps in the road, I mean, it just does a really, really good job, guys, of soaking up those bumps. We are in the sport trim level, but certainly the SE is more of an appearance package than anything to do with, actual sportiness. And it does a really good job of just soaking up those bumps and making sure you're very comfortable. I do also really like these seats.
Right, and talking about handling, even though, like Mason said, it isn't designed to be super sporty, I've always thought that this generation of Camry really focused a lot more on dynamics than the previous generation. You saw me kind of go around a corner, not a lot of body roll, and I also have always liked the steering in the sense that it's very responsive. As soon as you turn off center, you get an immediate response. You don't have these big dead zones like some cars do.
Now, as far as other practical elements that you might be concerned with this Camry, the warranty is going to be Toyota Signature Warranty, which is 3-year, 36,000-mile basic, 5-year, 60 powertrain. Additionally, you are going to get 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. Now, one area that did change for 2024 is a slight price increase for the Camry. As expected, that tends to be how cars do things nowadays, but it is going to be less than $500 on each trim level, so that's not much of an increase at all. So we're going to be starting at $26,220 for the LE trim level. There are a lot of different options as far as trim levels are concerned on this model. We have the SE, which is probably the most popular version of the Camry, so we're starting at $27,960. We also do have quite a few options and accessories, plus the $1,095 destination. We're sitting at $32,142 as tested today. And guys, that wraps up our in-depth review of the 2024 Toyota Camry SE. Now, we want to know your thoughts on if you're going to take this 2024 Camry or if you're going to wait for the all-new one. So be sure to tell us that in the comments down below. We also would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, because that really helps us out. It helps us get invited to events where we can see some of those latest cars on the market. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support. And also be sure to check out our TikTok and Instagram pages and all new website. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.